Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. We have a nice looking week ahead of us with multiple exciting games dropping. There's now an official app for Spotify on the Meta Quest. An upcoming VR MMO has absolutely crushed their Kickstarter goal. We have a new VR gaming showcase right around the corner. And finally, we have a series of new VR controllers that should have a major impact on the overall industry. Now, there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead. But let's start things off like normal with the check-in, and that's what exactly have I been up to in the VR world? Well, I'm going to be having a pretty massive party at the end of August where I introduce 30 or so people to VR. Pretty much all of them are VR noobs, and I'm gonna be running the gambit, showing them everything. We're gonna do spatial ops in the backyard. I have a setup for 4 people in Demio. We're gonna do the basic games like Beat Saber and Space Pirate Trainer to introduce people to it. I have multiple different haptic suits, the Roto chair, the Catwalk VR. I'm bringing it all out. 2 PC VR setups, one with a 4060 Ti, the other with a 5090. So we're going to run the gambit, and if you have any suggestions of what I should show people, we're going to start off easy and then crank it as far as people can take it, but just drop your suggestions. What do people need to see in VR? I'm also going to do my VR arcade and Xbox 360 Game Pass streaming. That's on the agenda right now. It's going to be a full, very hectic day. So let me know what you guys think I should add in, but for now, let's get into this week's new releases. Now, first up, we have the construction title Besiege. Here you get to build and control your very own contraptions and then put them through a series of challenges. Now, this title previously released on flat screen and received rave reviews, so the only real question that remains is how well has it been ported to the Meta Quest? Is it just as good, somehow even better, or are we looking at a Civ 7 type of situation? Now, I'm currently playing through this game and I'm also very familiar with the flat screen version, so if you want me to review this one, please let me know down in the comments. Now, another game that I'm currently playing through is Skyrunner Drone Hero. This is a mixed reality drone piloting title that was originally a small free demo called Bomber Drone. Now, publisher Flat the VR saw some serious potential here, picked up the title, and it's been turned into a full single-player campaign where you go through a series of experiences like saving people from burning buildings. Now, I know mixed reality isn't for everyone, as a lot of these titles feel a bit too casual, but if you are into that type of gameplay, I recommend you check out Skyrunner. And last up, we're getting the full release of Beatable, which is a new style of rhythm game, ideal for people who want to be a little bit less active. Rather than swinging lightsabers or chasing orbs, here you're tapping, snapping, and clapping to the beat of the music. It's fully playable in both VR and mixed reality modes, and if you've already played the early access version, I'm happy to let you know that the full release is coming with 12 more songs, some enhanced visuals, and a custom song map editor. So if you're looking for a new style of rhythm game, I highly recommend you check out Beatable, as it's only $10. Now, moving on into game updates, the Kickstarter for the upcoming VR MMO Eldramoor Haven in the Mist was not only fully funded, but they passed their goal by nearly $150,000. Now, I previously covered the development of this game, and I have some really high hopes, but we're still going to be waiting a year or so for the release of this game, so I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on any new developments. Now, unfortunately, it's not good news for everyone, as the studio behind Dungeon Full Dive is shutting down. Now, if you're not familiar with this title, it was designed to allow you to create D&D style board games in VR. You could experience the action from both a tabletop and first-person viewpoint, and there was a whole Game Master style toolkit that allowed you to build any world you want. They even ended up splitting the title into 2 different modes. There was a free version for players, and then the paid toolkit for any dungeon masters out there. Unfortunately though, the studio just could not afford to continue development, and they're now being forced to shut down. There will be no future development, and the planned Quest release is also cancelled. There is, however, a silver lining here. Starting on August 1st, this title will go completely free to play. So if you ever wanted to mess around with that toolkit, but were not willing to spend the $50, here's your chance. Now, there's a small chance that this could start some type of revival, but unfortunately, I think we're just dealing with too niche of an audience. You need a group of people who are not only into tabletop RPGs, but also own PC VR and are willing to move on from their current virtual tabletop. But if you are interested in giving this a try, please let me know down in the comments. Maybe we could set something up. Now, if you're currently wondering where the heck are all the big VR game announcements, the VR Gaming Showcase will return on August 12th, and hopefully it brings some badass new announcements. Currently, we're expecting to see more from Triangle Factory's Battlefront-style shooter Forefront, and Dream's new major title Reach, some updates on what Flat the VR Studios is currently working on. And finally, we'll get a look at Champions of Moss, the new fighting game coming from Polyarc. Now, if you haven't seen any of the previous VR gaming showcases, they've all been extremely solid with a minimal amount of filler content. Now, before we get into today's main topic, I just want to mention that there is now an official Meta Quest app for Spotify. Now, in truth, the app just brings you to the website, but this will help with visibility, and I love to see we keep getting more and more features on the Meta Quest. Okay, so let's jump into today's main topic, these brand new controllers that can really change up the game for VR. Now, I've demoed pretty much everything out there, and when it comes to hand tracking, I've just never believed in it. I feel like you still need a D-pad, you still need buttons, you still need a trigger, you still need these for locomotion and, basic input into the game. I do want more feedback, but we can't do it in a manner where we lose something we need. And previous examples have been cumbersome, expensive, and limited compatibility. When you have to do gestures to move forward and it's just not as accurate as using a stick, no one's going to want to do it. It'll be gimmicky at best. And when you have to slide like your Quest controller into the back, that's not reasonable. Or use base stations for tracking. No. Something like what Sharp is working on, it's a glove, but it also has the controller built in right here. So when you close your hand, you could still access that controller, something I deem mandatory. But at the same time, it's going to be able to give you force feedback, experience things in the world, grip things, which is a level of haptics I've been dying for. So you get your full finger tracking like you had with your index controllers. You still have your stick and everything to move around. You're not losing any capabilities and you're only gaining. The problem comes down to it, they're probably going to be expensive and there's no real information on them yet. But honestly, this is the first design that I looked at and went, yep, that makes sense. The only other design is from the Meganex, where you have the flip, where you could do this and then the control slides in. That's nice too, but having it more readily available, I think is even better. And then something completely different is coming from Meta. We've seen this before. They've been showing it off for years, but it's getting much closer. And that is the EMS, the electrical muscle stimulation reader that you would wear on your wrist somewhere. Now, some of the old devices they showed are prototypes and are like really clunky, but the newer ones are quite small and, decorative. They actually look pretty nice. And as you guys see, I don't mind wearing something around my wrist 24/7, but it reads the electronic stimulation and they're ideal for things like wearing glasses, where you don't want a clunky giant headset or something big. It doesn't need cameras pointing down to look at your hands to do hand tracking. Here, it's just going to read the muscles and understand your gestures. So you could just do things like this, swipe, and it will understand by reading the signals from your muscles. And obviously that makes a lot of sense as long as it functions well, which it looks like in the demos it is. But there's also some huge potential here for bringing these into VR. Obviously, we know they're ideal for glasses, small form factor things where you don't want lots of cameras. But just getting extra precision or extra modes of being able to communicate with your game is absolutely huge. Like when the index controllers came out and you were able to just do this, that was pretty massive. I remember going into multiplayer VR games and flipping people off. And I was one of the rare people with an index back then. And everyone was on like Rift. And they're like, how are you doing that? They only can do the pre-made gestures, which were like this and this and this. Meanwhile, I'm running around flipping people off. So yes, that's trivial, that's gimmicky, but there is some huge potential there. And this is the first time I'm seeing new devices that make sense and I think can actually make a big change. But let me know what you guys think. Now, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. That was a hard word. Also, it appears that the vast majority of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. I don't know. Please subscribe, guys. I'm really close to 100,000. I want to hit that number. It's just, an achievement I'm looking for. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.